Okay, cool. So I'm Julian Gordon and I'm 21 years old and I live in the Western Cape province of South Africa. And I do quite a few things. I keep myself very busy. I work in a real estate agency with my dad. I do youth movement volunteering. I'm part of a Jewish youth movement for many, many years and in the leadership. And I now do provision years. And I came across Provisioneers sometime in the beginning of January this year. I've had a very interesting year where I wasn't sure if I was going to work, go to study, and there were lots of other factors around that. And then I received a link from a friend of my mom's telling me about this Provisioneers program and that it's funded by Mercedes-Benz and all of that. And I looked through and I appreciated that it's about planet positive projects and all of that. So I applied. I wanted to try and take as much of the opportunity as possible to see where it would take me. And I applied with a project and idea that I came up with. I didn't have something beforehand that I was working on. It was all quite fresh and within the time. And while coming through it, I worked on the idea of, had many ideas going on, but then I finally came to the idea of a green tax rebate. And I've just been doing all those three things throughout my year this year, so keep myself quite busy. And I am just happy and excited because I believe a lot in what I do, and I believe a lot in collaboration and support and all of that from friends, family. They're all very good on that front. And it's been a challenging year. I won't deny it's been a challenging year. But I've just taken things one thing as they are, and I just work. I do my best. I do my best in everything that I try to do.
No, impressive. You can, yeah, juggle all of it together and yeah, still be focused on your project. And yeah, I'd like to kind of explore that a little bit more. Um, if you could kind of elaborate on your idea of this green tax rebate and maybe share a little bit about how it could impact local communities in South Africa, maybe beyond.
For sure. So the idea for the project is that if South African families can prove that they live a green lifestyle through keeping themselves in fit and active shape, that they're eating healthy organic food, and that they take part in any environmental volunteering, that they can be rewarded from the government by paying less tax because they're proving that they're living a green lifestyle. And it's just addressing those interconnected challenges of affordability, um, of good eating, of important and good individual well-being. It's addressing those interconnected challenges together to improve the quality of life of South African families. And it is it's a program with lots of potential and lots of opportunity. There's many ways that's going to affect local communities and local groups, and one of the ways is especially supporting local farmers directly. One of the pillars and pathways of the project is to shorten some part of the supply chain and also in the farm to table line, to reduce costs for farmers, and also just have a more direct route from consumers to the farmers themselves, so that there's more benefits there. And the and it also just helps the families understand their current impact on the environment through what they purchase, through what they consume, through what they do to keep themselves the way that they are. And it would help to give the South African families and users perspective on the impact that they have, and thus how they can make a change that would better themselves, and thus make sense to then benefit the environment and community around them.
Wow, sounds, yeah, very comprehensive. You're really involving a lot of stakeholders in the ecosystem. And yeah, there seems to be a focus on also raising awareness so that people are aware of their impact their lifestyle has
Mm.
on the local ecosystem. Um, I guess, you know, it's a fantastic idea, and like part of the challenge, I imagine, is it's essentially a policy. So like you're engaging on the political level in local, regional, national politics. Maybe you could shine some light on what you discovered are the kind of biggest challenges there.
So the big thing about policy is that implementing any policy or law is a huge waiting game, especially in the long run. And living in a country like South Africa that does have its own problems, it has lots of corruption, has issues with service delivery. It's got a very challenging and checkerboard history. So it does. Those are some barriers in approaching government and approaching um, local government members to work on projects such as these. So it becomes more important, almost an easier path to speak to non-government organizations or non-profit organizations, NGOs and NPOs, to start working with them, because those are also organizations that are still seen by the government because they have to by law. And even though they may not always have enough support or enough finances or anything, everyone in South Africa loves the idea of NGOs and NPOs because they're doing good work for the benefit of other people. They're doing good work for their own cause, and that's what makes them look really great in the eyes of South Africans and all of that. So when it comes to working with local governments and working with implementing the policy down the road, one of the first steps is to speak to the local ward councillors and who are also government employees within my town and within my area. That's the first step to A, let them know that this project exists, and B, that it would improve and flourish and benefit all around them once a project is in place. And that's your first step. That's your first point of networking. And then another plan I have is, while the policy is implemented and ongoing, or in the process before it's been seen by all levels of government, is to implement a pilot program within a small town in South Africa. And the pilot program, around about 6 months, will look at involving local farmers, look at involving financial analysts, healthcare people from the healthcare areas, to assess a number of things. Having the local farmers there will assess that there's direct access from South African families to them, so that they know exactly what they're eating, what they're getting the food from. The financial analyst's goal and role is to check that the South African families are putting their money towards the right places. And finally, for any doctors and medical people involved, to see that living a lifestyle like this does actually have physiological benefits as well. So the goal of that pilot program is to show that it is an idea that's definitely possible, and that it will improve with government help, obviously depending on how long that timeline goes.
Well, I mean, I think an important part of the program is, building such a vision that is comprehensive and analyzing the risks therein and anticipating challenges and, figuring out how to overcome those challenges. It seems like you've really thought of all the eventualities for this pilot program, so you're kind of ready for the next stage. I think, like, to kind of move the conversation to upcoming COP28, I think there's no bigger stage for conversations like this about like how we should be educating people on a governmental level about sustainability, how we should be rewarding sustainable living. I'm curious to hear kind of what are your thoughts on encouraging kind of sustainable education and policy making on such a big level like we have at COP28.
So one of the challenges around implementing policy, especially around COP28, is that it needs to go through a lot of levels of checking. It needs to go through a lot of people involved in the discussions, in the rooms and everything. And obviously that is also something that takes time. They need to check that the policies is aligning with with the UN goals, with the sustainability goals, and sustainability for the future. And I think one of the biggest things is just to make sure communication in those spheres are very clear about what everyone's role is, and where the project and policy is going to take the stakeholders, and also just be realistic about their capacity and about their challenges and limitations and everything. And I tend not to have, when it comes to big organizations like this, I do my best not to have expectations, just for the reason that if my expectations are set too high and it doesn't meet that, then I'll be disappointed. But if my expectations are too low, then I feel too surprised. I think I just try and go in with however they're running themselves, however they want to discuss policy, as it is. I don't want to go in with any preconceived ideas of what will happen, because then I know exactly what is happening, and taking it as it is, and not overthinking or underthinking it. And it's just important for these organizations also just to follow through on what they want to provide, and what they want people to see that they're doing.
So yeah, I think having a right approach to big events, conferences, big opportunities like this to forge new change is a matter of being realistic as well. It's like having big goals, but being really realistic enough to focus on how you can actually achieve those goals without overshooting or overpromising. How can education and awareness around climate change be improved for younger generations, for older generations, for everyone involved?
So the education just needs to be very balanced and very realistic on climate change, because as generations have continued, the younger the people are, almost the more aware that they are of the world around them and the issues in the world around them. And especially my generations younger than me, with social media, with good access to the internet and Google and other resources as well, it's very easy to have that information from very young, and to try and understand from very young. And it also means that people in those generations become more passionate from younger, and sometimes they understand that the information that they're receiving can be misinformation, or maybe there's greenwashing, or they'll see through what big companies and big industries are saying far more easily than someone who's maybe grown up through that generation, because they're looking at it from a different lens. And they don't want to be fooled. They want to know exactly how something is happening, how something is moving. That they just want transparency. Like the younger generations and my generation just want transparency and accountability from the maybe, let's say, the organizations and people who have made mistakes, and we just want to know how they would fix them. Or is it for us to be involved in the fix and the change? And so tying that into education is just making sure that it is clear, it's balanced, it's written or presented with intent, and it is also relatable. So it's very easy to look at an article online. If it doesn't relate to you, you're not going to read the whole thing. So it needs to cover those spheres, and I think that makes it better for the generations going forward.